Today we are looking at the brand new cards from the Sonic the Hedgehog secret lair. Specifically, we're building a commander deck with Sonic the Hedgehog. We've already got Knuckles done and the others are in the pipeline. These look amazing and super fun and super powerful, so we can't wait to show these to you. Welcome back to another episode of Southern Sorcery. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. Let's go on this ride together and check out Sonic the Hedgehog. So Sonic the Hedgehog is a Hedgehog warrior, which gives us a new creature type, Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog is 1 blue, red, white. For a legendary creature with haste, has 2 abilities. First one is gotta go fast. Whenever Sonic the Hedgehog attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with flash or with haste. And then whenever a creature you control with flash or haste is dealt damage, you make a tapped treasure token, which is awesome flavor because when Sonic takes damage, all the rings fly out. Weird health system in the video game, but you guys have played it, I'm sure. Flavor is 10 out of 10 for that. That's fantastic. I can just hear the sound in my mind and see the rings flying all over the place. But this is a really fun deck. It's very combat centric. So we've got quite a few creatures. We've got 31 creatures in the deck. So let's just jump into the deck. But before we do, help me out and do that YouTube stuff. Please subscribe. If you haven't already, it helps you get our videos. But even if you don't want to subscribe, that's cool. No big deal. Please drop a like on this. It helps us out with the algorithm. It is the all-knowing, all-being, ununderstandable, the ineffable YouTube algorithm. So jump down there in the comments as well. If it's your first time here, let us know it's your first time here. We just want to say thank you and welcome you to our community. No further ado, let's get into these creatures. The first one is going to be Abzan Falconer. Abzan Falconer is really good. I run him in my 1/1 counters humans deck. So I always go to him whenever there is a theme of +1/+1 counters because each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. This is a great way to give our creatures evasion. Sonic is going to be dropping tons of +1/+1 counters, and all you need is 1 for you to get the flying payoff. So that's going to give our creatures evasion. This is a combat heavy deck. That's how we want to win. We want to overrun. We want to grow our army. And so Abzan Falconer is a great way to punch through a ton of damage. Next, we also have Anger. Anger has haste for 3 and a red. As long as Anger is in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control have haste. So Anger himself is going to get the perk of Sonic the Hedgehog because he has haste. So we're going to be able to put 1/1 counters on Anger so he can just be in the army. Or if he dies, that's great because he'll give all the rest of our creatures haste as long as we have a mountain. And we should be able to have a mountain. We've got several mountains. But even if we don't, still has haste, still gets the benefit. Next, we have Archivist of Ogma. Again, it's either haste or flash creatures that get the perk from this, so we've gone with that, which, shocker to no one, I'm sure. But whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and you draw a card. So Archivist of Ogma will also receive the 1/1 counters and gains us life and potentially draws us cards, which is great. Next up, we have Arthur, Marigold Knight. This is a really good card. In my playtesting of this has been pretty clutch a few times because Arthur Marigold Knight is a mouse knight, has haste, so he'll get the benefits. But whenever Arthur and at least 1 other creature attacks, so you have to have 2 creatures attacking, Marigold and 1 other, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. I'm sorry, just any creature you come across in those cards gets to come out for free. That is nuts. Arthur's really, really strong. You put him onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and then you return that creature to its owner's hand at the end of combat. So it does get bounced back to your hand. However, that's essentially a free combat with potentially a great big creature, and we get it into our hand, so it's card advantage. Next, we have Aurelia, the Law Above, 3 red, white for an angel that has flying, vigilance, and haste. So doesn't tap whenever we attack with it, has flying, so evasion, and already has haste, so it gets those 1/1 counters. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Again, this is a combat-centric deck. We want to be swinging. We're going to be swinging with 3 creatures. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia, the Law Above, deals 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. So it's going to do non-combat damage if you're swinging out with lots of creatures in a wide army. We're going to want to try to hit that anyway. So this is a great card here. We also have Aurelia, the War Leader. This is clutch too because this version of Aurelia has flying, vigilance, and haste. But whenever Aurelia, the War Leader, attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So she's going to let us take multiple combats. You pair this up with some of the other stuff we've got coming later, and you can pretty much close out a game. We've also got Cavern Horde Dragon. This card is making its way into so many of my decks. Every time I play it, it just is a workhorse for me. It's so good because it's got Flying, Trample, and Haste. Flying, trample, haste, that combination, and then paying off the attack or when it deals damage is so good. And it also has a big reduction. So this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest number of artifacts an opponent. Like, so whoever has the most artifacts, if one's got, 4 and the other 2 have 2, it's 4. So the reduction will come off of the generic mana cost. So if someone's got 7 artifacts, like a bunch of treasures or a bunch of clues or foods or whatever, you could potentially get Cavern Horde Dragon out for just the red pips, which is bonkers. And then whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you make a treasure token for each artifact that player controls. So again, if someone has a lot of treasure, but I mean, even if it's just 3 or 4, you're getting that reduction off the cost, and then when you smack them with it, immediately you get treasures back. So you can usually go net even, at least with Cavern Horde Dragon. You're almost always going to go net even with Cavern Horde. It's really good. We've also got Danny Pink. This is a card from Doctor Who. 3 and a blue for a human soldier advisor, has Mentor. So whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on a target attacking creature with lesser power. So it's going to buff something smaller than him. And then creatures you control have, whenever 1 or more counters are put on this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card. That's super crazy in this deck because we're going to put them on so many creatures. 3, 4, 5 creatures a turn. We're going to draw that many cards. What in the world? This is nuts. Enduring Curiosity. 2 and 2 blue. A Cat Glimmer, this is from Duskborn, has flash. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's going to draw us a lot of cards. Again, combat heavy. When Enduring Curiosity died, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and then it's an enchantment, so has some staying power. They did a whole series of those. There's one in each color, I think, of the Enduring whatevers. Then we've got Errant and Giada. This is 1 blue-white for a human angel with flash and flying. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You can cast spells of flash or flying from the top of your library. So it just gives us a little access to the top of our deck, which is nice. You at least know what's coming, and sometimes we'll be able to cast from the top, which is also great. Every deck needs card draw, so we've got Esper Sentinel. We've also got more card draw here. Fairy Mastermind has flash and flying. When an opponent draws their second card each turn, you get to draw a card. Then you can pay 4 into this, 3 and a blue. Each player draws a card. So in a pinch, you can definitely still draw a card. It's just every player gets to draw a card. But we can also force that second card by paying into that and then potentially draw a bunch more cards. So Fairy Mastermind is very good. We're making some treasures in this deck. So we've got Goldspan Dragon. That's 3 red, has flying and haste. So again, haste is going to receive that buff from Sonic the Hedgehog. Whenever a Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes a target of a spell, you create a treasure token, and then treasures you control have tap. Sack this artifact and add 2 mana of any one color. We've also got another flash creature here. This is Guardian of Faith, 1 white. When it enters the battlefield, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. That's really good protection for our commander or, our Aurelia or Cavern Horde Dragon, just something like that. We can keep them out of harm's way by flashing in Guardian of Faith. We've also got Herald of Secret Streams. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them cannot be blocked. This is crazy too. Like, there's so many good cards that work well with 1/1 counters. It's a super strong strategy. It has received tons and tons of support from Wizards. There's almost always a precon that comes out that has 1/1 counters, that cares about counters, so it's not hard to find really good stuff for counters. We've also got Hull Breaker Horror. This can be a game ender in the right decks. In this deck, it's just a massive 7/8. It can't be countered, has flash, so it's going to get the benefits from Sonic, and we can bounce permanents back to our opponent's hands, which is great. It's a way to protect us and ourselves, and it's a way to deal with threats on the board. Because it's target permanents or a target spell, it's very good. Non-land permanents. We also have Hydroelectric Specimen. This is a flash creature. When it enters a battlefield, you may change the target of a target instant or sorcery spell with a single target to the Hydroelectric Specimen. So you can flash this in and essentially divert a targeted spell. Or it's an MDFC, so it's a land on the back, so it just gives us a little bit of versatility there. MDFCs are really good and underrated. Shane has been on an MDFC kick lately, so I figured, why not? I'll include one too. We also have got Kylo Apogee Mind. This is a new card that is not out yet, but it's very good. It's a robot artificer, has haste. Whenever a Kilo becomes tapped, you proliferate. So it works super well in this deck. The synergy is there, has the flash, and then it proliferates. So it's going to put more counters on our stuff with counters. We've also got Knuckles. What? You got to have Knuckles in here. You got Sonic and you got Knuckles. 2 red, double strike, trample, haste. Again, beneficiary there, double strike and trample and haste. Gross. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So that's super good. And then it has Treasure Hunter at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 30 or more artifacts, you win the game. That's just icing on the cake if somehow we end up with 30, but we want the Double Strike, Trample, and Haste. He'll get the buff, and we will be making more treasures. Very, very good. Next, we have Layla, the Blade Reforged, 2 and a red for a Spirit Warrior that has Haste. Whenever she attacks, exile the top card of your library. You can play that card this turn, and then whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or your graveyard, you put a 1/1 counter on her. So she'll put counters on herself, and Sonic will put counters on her. We've also got Legion Loyalist. This is 1 red for a Goblin Soldier with haste, and whenever it and at least 2 other creatures attack, creatures you control gain first strike and trample until the end of turn and cannot be blocked by creature tokens this turn. That's unique and important because a lot of the time the counter for a deck that wants to attack is to make 1/1 tokens and have these puny blockers. But with Legion Loyalist out, your tokens can't even block. Suck on that. Then we've got Loyal Apprentice. 1 and a red, has haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, you make a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It gains haste until the end of turn. So it makes a hasty flyer, which is great. We also have Tails. Gotta have Tails. Sonic, Tails, and now Knuckles. Tails has flash, 1 white and a blue, has flying. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, draw a card. If it has flying, otherwise put a flying counter on it. We don't care about that part so much. We really want it because it's Sonic and Tails. You gotta have, come on. I mean, it's gotta go in here, right? Like, cut it if you want. It has flash. It belongs here. The end. We also have Professional Facebreaker, 2 and a red, has Menace. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, make a treasure token. Do I need to say more? Professional Facebreaker is just really good. Sacrifice a treasure, exile the top card of your library. You can play that card this turn. Real good. Next, we have Selfless Squire. This is 3 and a white for a human soldier. It has flash. When Selfless Squire enters a battlefield, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. So more flash speed, instant speed, protection on Selfless Squire. And then whenever damage that would be dealt to you is prevented, put that many +1/+1 counters on Selfless Squire. So you flash in Selfless Squire and somebody's swinging about 15 damage your way. Ooh, that's what we want. That's what we want. Thundering Reiju is a spirit for 2 red, has haste. Whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. Then it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than this creature. So Thundering Reiju is going to buff the team around us, and it's also going to deal X damage to each opponent. Non-combat damage is great. This is going to deal a bunch of damage potentially because we're going to have all of our creatures are going to be modified, basically. Modified creatures are equipped creatures or enchanted creatures or creatures with counters of any kind on them. That is what modified means. Next, we've got Tishana's Tidebinder, 2 and a blue for a Merfolk Wizard. It has flash. When it enters a battlefield, counter up to 1 target activated or triggered ability. If an ability of an artifact, creature, or planeswalker is countered this way, that permanent loses all abilities for as long as Tishana's Tidebinder remains on the battlefield. Tishana's Tidebinder can be a real saving grace. I have seen this come in and save the table from, someone had something going on and they were able to cast Tidebinder and just turn that card off. It can be really, really good, too. Next, we've got Urbrask the Hidden. Let me change the graphic here to a printing that we can actually all read. There we go. We'll just use this one. Urbrask the Hidden, 3 red for a Phyrexian Praetor. Creatures you control have haste, and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So all the Praetors are usually kind of mean. This one is no exception. It's not that mean. Creatures entering in tapped. But yeah, also really good for us because less blockers. We also have Van, Aspiring Sky Pirate, or Captain Lannery Storm. This is just the skin from Final Fantasy. Moxfield always just puts the latest printing on here. We have to switch that printing too. Let's do this one. That way it's just easier to deal with. Captain Lannery Storm is a human pirate, has haste. Whenever it attacks, you make a treasure token, and then whenever you sack a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. So a way to get a bunch of damage through. Potentially, if we've got some treasures laying around, we've got some stuff that lets our modified creatures be unblockable or have trample or whatever, we can just sack some treasures and make Captain Lannery Storm bigger at instant speed, which is nice. We've also got Winged Hive Tyrant. This is 3 blue-red, has flying and haste, and has Will of the Hive Mind. Other creatures you control with counters on them have flying and haste, so it's going to give the rest of our army evasion. Having ways to get through damage is imperative in a combat heavy deck, and we have quite a few ways to really buff up our team and punch that damage through. And then lastly, we have Zorn. If one or more treasure tokens would be made instead, those tokens plus an additional token get made. So it just is it's like a hardened scales except for treasures, which is nice. So not a doubling season for treasures. It's just one. But in most cases, you're only making one treasure at a time, so it's going to give us 2 treasures anytime we would make one treasure or more. That's going to round out our creatures. Next up, we have our sorceries. We've got Blasphemous Act. Costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, and then it deals 13 damage to each creature. I don't love board wipes. I say that every time I put one in a deck, but this time we are fine with some board wipes. What tends to happen in a combat-heavy deck or a creature deck like this is we get out to a good start, or we're the threat early on, and our board gets picked apart piece by piece, and so then you're left behind, and so sometimes to catch back up, you need to slow the rest of the board down, and you need to hit everybody all at one time. So Blasphemous Act is a great board wipe because the 13 damage gets around a lot of good. Blasphemous Act is just a really good board wipe, and you can tend to cast it for a single red mana, which is great because then you don't spend all your mana on a board wipe, and then you can still catch up a little bit. But we do run 2 other board wipes. They are Damning Verdict, 3 white, destroy all creatures with no counters on them. And then we also have Wave Goodbye. This is 2 blue, return each creature without a 1/1 counter on it to its owner's hand. So most of our creatures will have 1/1 counters on them, so each of these are going to remove the creatures that don't have 1/1 counters, so that's really good too. And then we also have Ponder, which is a great card draw spell. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your library, you can put them back in any order, and if you don't like those 3, you can just give it a shuffle, and then you draw a card. So it just gives you access to the top 3. You pick the one of those 3 that's the best one, or if you hate all 3 of them, you can shuffle and draw something completely random. Next, under Instants, we've got Chroma's Will. This is going to close out the game for us. Potentially 3 and a white, choose one, and if you control a commander, as you can cast this spell, you can choose both. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, double strike until end of turn, and then the second mode, creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until the end of turn. And so when you cast this with your commander out, it usually ends the game. It's very, very good. And then we've got an offer you can't refuse. It's 1 blue. You gotta have some counter magic. We run blue. Gotta have some counter magic. Counter a target non-creature spell. Its controller makes 2 treasure tokens. We also got Boros Charm. Boros Charm is also really good. 1 red, 1 white, and it can deal 4 damage to a target player or permanents you control are indestructible this turn, or a target creature gains double strike until the end of turn. So it's a very versatile spell. Mostly it's here for protection. We want to be able to keep our stuff, so being able to make permanents we control indestructible, and that's going to protect all our permanents, which is great. We also have got Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in a random order. So similar to Ponder, you draw those cards, you look at what you got, and then you put 1 back. So pretty good. And then we've got Generous Gift. This is going to be able to destroy a target permanent, which is really nice, so anything. We also got Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares. They are both 1 white mana to exile a target creature. Path is its controller can search his or her library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and then you shuffle. And Swords to Plowshares, its controller gains life equal to the power of the creature you exiled. So those are both very good. And then lastly, we've got Dovin's Veto. It is a blue, a white, and says this spell can't be countered and counter target non-creature spell. So an uncounterable counter, which is good. Next up, we have our artifacts. So we've got some good artifacts here. We've got Arcane Signet, which taps for mana of any color for our commander. We've got Bident of Thassa. This is a good card draw spell. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. We've also got the Buster Sword. Buster Sword cheats in permanents. What do you want from me? This is so good. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. That's really good already. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. What? It draws cards too? Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. What in the world? This is so crazy. Gross. Probably the best sword that I've seen in a hot minute. It might be better than all of the other swords. Like if you're looking at the sword of this, the sword of that, that's really good, and it has essentially the same cost. All the swords in the traditional sense of Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of whatever, they cost 3 and they have equipped cost of 2. Buster Sword has the same things. This is very similar to those. It's worded whenever equipped creature deals combat damage. That's the prerequisite for all of those swords. The only thing it doesn't do is give protection from something, and all those other swords give pro black and red or blue and white. Then we've got Curse Mirror. This is a good card in this deck. It's a little bit overcosted purely as a mana rock. It is 2 and a red, and it taps for a red. But as it enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until the end of turn, except it has haste. So you can make it come in, it'll have haste. Sonic will see it has haste. It gets a 1/1 counter. Now, it just goes back to being a mana rock after that, but you know what? You got a mana rock that has a 1/1 counter on it. Seems fun. We've also got Felwar Stone, a good mana rock. We've got Lightning Greaves. We want to protect our stuff. We want to give maybe some stuff that doesn't have haste so they can get those 1/1 counters on them, but it's a lot of it's protection mostly. We've also got Mind Stone and Soul Ring, both good mana rocks as well. Swiftfoot Boots is more protection for something, or again, giving haste to something that doesn't have haste naturally. We've also got the Talisman of Conviction, the Talisman of Creativity. Those are both mana rocks as well. We've got the Fire Crystal, 2 red. This is from Final Fantasy as well. Red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, so it's going to reduce the generic mana of anything red, but also creatures you control have haste, so it's a haste enabler. And then for 4 and 2 red, you can tap it to create a token that's a copy of a target creature you control, and then you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So since it gives all of our creatures haste, the payability there does not include the text. Most of the time, if it's like make a token and then sacrifice it, it'll say it gains haste until the end of turn. But because the Fire Crystal is out, it gives it haste. They just left that part off. And then lastly, we have the Ozolith. We're going to be making lots of 1/1 counters and putting them on our creatures, and then those creatures are inevitably going to die, so we can save those counters by using the Ozolith. It costs 1 for a legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, you put those counters on the Ozolith. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. So we'll be able to move those and not just lose them. The Ozolith is really, really good, especially in 1/1 counters decks. Next up, we've got some enchantments, and we have a potential win con here with Aggravated Assault. It's 2 and a red. You pay 3 red to untap all creatures you control. If it's a main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. So you go to combat, you've got something like Knuckles is out, or you've got Professional Facebreaker out. We're making treasures when we're attacking, and then we move into our second main phase. We pay into Aggravated Assault the 3 red. We untap all those creatures. Then we go to combat again. We deal more combat damage. We make more treasures. We go to the main phase. We pay into Aggravated Assault. This just loops. So you can close out a game with Aggravated Assault very easily. All Will Be One is also capable of closing out games. 3 and 2 reds, whenever you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or a player, All Will Be One deals that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or a planeswalker an opponent controls. So now every time we put a 1/1 counter on a creature, we are going to get 1 point of damage. So you put 5 counters on 5 different creatures, All Will Be One can deal 5 damage, so very, very good. We've also got Frostcliff Siege. This came from Tarkir. Dragonstorm, as this enchantment enters, you can choose Jeskai or Temur. The Jeskai gives you, whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And Temur says creatures you control get +1/+0, have trample and haste. So depending on what we need, if we've already got something that's giving us flying or whatever, and we don't need the trample and the haste, you can choose to draw some more cards, or vice versa. If you need your creatures to have haste and evasion, this will give them trample, so you'll be good with trample and haste. We've also got Rage Reflection. 4 red. Creatures you control have double strike. That's also really good in a combat centric deck. We've also got some more card draw here in the Game Changer Rhystic Study, so sue me, I like Rhystic Study. We've also got Rising of the Day. 2 and a red. Creatures you control have haste. Legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. Just more ways to make sure that all of our creatures are going to get that Sonic the Hedgehog benefit. And then lastly in enchantments is Smothering Tithe. We're in a sub-theme of treasures, you guys. This is the best treasure maker in all of Magic. And when you play things like Rhystic Study and Smothering Tithe, people want to remove those. So then they don't have removal for our Sonic the Hedgehog or our whatever else that's going to be out here kicking people's butts. So I almost always run a couple of big time value generators that set that alarm off in people's minds so that they'll use their removal for that. And then if they do, great, because it means they don't have it for the thing I really want to do. Drawing cards is great and Smothering Tithe is great, but I really want to beat your face in. So I would rather you remove one of those two things than my thing that's going to get me the win. So just strategy for you guys. All right, so we're running 36 lands, 37 including that MDFC. You definitely could maybe go a little bit lighter here, but I didn't. So there. So under the lands, there's not really anything that's insane that we want to write home about. We're in a 3-color deck, so we've got a pretty good variety of lands that tap for this and tap for that if you meet this criteria or whatever. We do have a handful of lands that are actually utility lands for us, and that's going to be, the first one is Minas Tirith. Minas Tirith enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. It taps for white, and then you can pay 1 and a white and tap it to draw a card. But activate this only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn. Having it card draw stapled onto your lands, especially late game, can be really crucial. You might not need all the mana, especially with the amount of treasures we're going to be making. So a lot of times you end up with 8 and 10 treasures and nothing to spend it on. So at least with Minas Tirith, we're going to be swinging anyway, so you can use Minas Tirith to draw a card. We've also got Mistrized Village, which will let us pay it blue and tap it. The next spell you cast this turn can't be countered. It just ensures that something like an Akroma's Will can't get countered. You know, something along those lines. Our win con or our real, like a piece that we absolutely want to make it onto the battlefield. It's just a way to ensure that it gets out there. And those are really the only 2 utility lands we have in this deck. So that rounds out this portion, and then we'll quickly do just a little bit of a gameplay walkthrough. We'll just walk through some gameplay for you guys here real quick. We'll just goldfish this just so you can kind of see what it does on the first 5 turns or so. And yeah, so again, stick around for that. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. You've been here a good while. Maybe you like this kind of content. It helps you get more of our videos, and it helps our channel grow. So we would appreciate a like, a follow, a subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and jump in the comments. We'd love to talk to you. All right, so thanks for sticking around. Again, we appreciate that. Let's jump into a quick goldfish of this deck. I just randomized this a few times, and yeah, we'll just see what we get. All right, we will go turn 1, we'll draw. That's a Mind Stone, so that's pretty good. That's a pretty good first turn. We'll just play an island, and then we'll play the Ozolith, because we can. Then we'll move to our next turn. Oh, Professional Facebreaker, so good. We'll go here, we'll tap. Oh, no, wait. We'll play a mountain first instead. Not the Sundown Pass. It enters tapped. That'll give us 2. We'll tap 2. We'll go Mind Stone. We'll move to turn 3. Now we'll go Sundown Pass. And we've got 3-4 total mana, and we've got the colors we need for Sonic. So let's just go ahead and get Sonic out, because why not? It's turn 3. We'll swing with Sonic. We're going to add a counter to Sonic the Hedgehog. Next turn, we've got the Mistrized Village, unless we control a mountain or forest. So that'll come in untapped. That gives us 5 mana to play with, so we can go, yeah, let's just go with the Professional Facebreaker. It doesn't have haste, but Sonic does, so we'll swing again. It's going to deal combat damage, and so we'll make a treasure. Also, Sonic will get another counter. So Sonic is now a 4/6. So that's pretty good. We're doing pretty good so far. Let's see, we tapped 3 for that Facebreaker, and then we've got 3 more mana. We can flash in Fairy Mastermind as an opponent draws their second card, so we'll draw, and then we'll move to our next turn. It's hard to simulate that, like, oh, an opponent drew X amount of cards this turn. Same way with like Rhystic Study or Esper Sentinel when you're gold fishing. It's hard to simulate how many cards you could potentially draw per turn cycle, but we're just going to say 1 with Fairy Mastermind. So moving on, we've got Brainstorm. That's pretty good. We've got Akroma's Will. We're not ready to use that yet. We've got Fire Crystal. Can give our creatures haste. Let's get the Fire Crystal out. It's going to give us a reduction on red spells and give creatures we control haste, which is nice because now the Professional Facebreaker will also get the benefit from Sonic the Hedgehog. So we'll go, the Fire Crystal was red, and 2 others. Let's go that way. And so then, let's see if we played land for turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go 5. That'll give us enough mana that we can tap 1, 2, 3 more and go Abzan Falconer. Abzan Falconer now also has haste, and then we'll go to combat. We've got flyers. We're going to swing out because we've got flyers. There's going to absolutely be players that don't all have flying. And so they all have haste now because of the Fire Crystal, so everything is going to get a 1/1 counter, and so then everything is going to have flying. So now everything has flying. Everything has got a counter on it, and then Professional Facebreaker is going to say make some treasures. We can only make 3 treasures because it's whenever 1 or more creatures you control. So 3 treasures. We'll put those here on the end. Not you, Professional Facebreaker. Stop that. And then we'll do a Brainstorm. We can wait and do that at instant speed on the end step before our next turn. So we're going to say that somebody drew at least drew 2 cards. So that'll trigger the Fairy Mastermind. We'll draw a card, and then we'll move to our next turn. Knuckles. Oh my gosh. This is just getting ready to get out of control with the treasure, you guys. So what we can do now is go ahead and cast Knuckles. We could also cast Zorn. We're going to cast Knuckles. It's 1 cheaper, so it's going to be 1 and 2 reds. 1, 2 red. And then Zorn is the same way. It's going to be a reduction off of the Fire Crystal. 1 reduction there, so we're going to go 1 and a red there and get both of those out. And then we're going to go ahead and cast Chroma's Will. That should be enough, honestly, to probably close out the game because they'll all get double strike, flying, vigilance, lifelink, indestructible. So we've got, well, maybe not close out the game this early, but it's going to be a lot, and we're going to get a lot of treasure off of it. So everything will get another +1/+1 counter. Everything's going to get pro, so none of it's going to be able to be blocked. It's all going to have vigilance, double strike, so it's going to make double treasures, and Knuckles is also going to make double treasures. So we're getting ready to make a boatload of treasure here. Now we just need some card draw, which we can. We can card draw. We can sacrifice a treasure and exile the top cards. We can pay 4 and everybody draws a card. So this is going to get a little funky. We've got a lot of damage to deal. So everything has double strike. So this is 4. So that'll be 8. This is 3, so it'll be 6. This is 4, so it'll be 8. This is 4, so it'll be 8. This is 6, so it'll be 12. That'll be 4. Everything's going to have double strike. So we're going to make 6 treasures. And then we're going to make, because of Zorn, we're going to make 12 treasures. That's going to resolve the Knuckles treasures. Then we're going to have Professional Facebreaker, which is also going to make 6 treasures because of the double strike. And then the Zorn is going to make 6 more treasures. So we're going to make a total of 24 treasures. And so we already have, we sacrificed these earlier, not tap them. We'll make 24 treasures. So we're just going to set 24 counters here. So what we can do now is try to draw a lot of cards. So we can just go ahead and cast the Ponder and then look at the next 3. I mean, we can put these back. How do we want to do that? We can do this. Using the Professional Facebreaker ability, we can exile top cards of our library and play them this turn. So we can do that quite a bit. We've got 23 total treasures, so we can do it quite a few times. So we can exile the Swiftfoot Boots, Loyal Apprentice, Aurelia. Oh, that one's good. So I think we definitely want to cast the Aurelia. So we're going to lose a treasure each time we do this. So we're going to go down to, let's see. It doesn't really matter. That's not the point. You guys see what this deck wants to do. You can look at it. We can look at a whole bunch more of these cards and then decide if we want to play any of them this turn or whatever we want to do with the Professional Facebreaker ability. But the Aurelia is probably going to be our best bet because it's going to give us the extra combats. So you definitely want Aurelia. You definitely want the Swiftfoot Boots, so you can equip those to the Aurelia so no one can mess with your win con or your potential win con. I mean, obviously someone could board wipe right now. And then we had the Hydroelectric Specimen, so we'll hold on to that. The rest of whatever we look at can just go to exile, and we would keep moving forward from there. But that's what this deck wants to do. It's a lot of fun. It's very combat-centric, so if you love the aggro strategy, if you love the go-wide strategy, if you love having treasures to just cast everything that we can get our hands on, this is the deck for you. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for sticking around and checking us out. Again, hit that like button. It helps us out a ton. If everyone who watched our videos just smashed the like button, that would help us out so much. But jump in the comments. We'd love to talk to you and hear your thoughts on this deck. And don't forget to subscribe. It helps grow our channel, and it helps you get our next video. So we will hopefully see you then in that next one, and we will talk to you then. Bye, everybody.